typical sales cycle in the Australian market is longer than the typical sales cycle in US because, obviously it's a smaller market, it's a very highly relationship driven market and to some extent a little more price sensitive as well, but the sales cycles are longer. So I think apart from the tier difference of culture, these differences remain. My employer tried to lure me back with offer of a green card, but
welcome everyone to another podcast here at Copper Digital. Really excited to have Manoj here. Manoj, welcome to the team and welcome to this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is my first time doing a podcast. I have some butterflies in my stomach.
Well, wonderful. No, this is, we are so lucky to have you here. And I know you're on so many discussions and meetings with clients, collaborating, partnering, forging partnerships. So I think this is just another conversation. Of course, we started a podcast series where I wanted to highlight the people that are here that make things happen at Copper Digital. And then I spoke with our design head, and that was very well received because it was an inspiration for people who want to choose that as a career in the future. And also similarly, I think there were other podcasts that we got some really good feedback. So I thought with such wonderful credentials you have, and and this week that you're just joining us, it was really an amazing idea for the rest of the clients, our community, to get to know you a little bit as they would be collaborating with you and hearing from you. So I think so this podcast can have a lot of those goals that we can accomplish here. But other than that, podcast is usually about having a great conversation and having a good time. So, this is nothing different than anyways, when we talk and strategize and share ideas, I think it's going to be very similar to that.
Absolutely. And I think it's also very important for our internal audience, some within the office, some on the other side of the globe, because this way, we get clued into their thoughts and they get clued into ours, right?
Absolutely. No, well said. I think you're right. Because a lot of our employees that are in the US, it's going to be difficult for them to, get that face-to-face time or get to know you, at that level. And I think, just going through this podcast, I think would definitely serve that purpose as well. How did you get started in, wanting to become an engineer and eventually then becoming a CTO? So I'd like to maybe have a similar type of a discussion where I want to really genuinely, curiously get to know you. So today you are here as SVP and launching new markets, which we're super excited about. How did you get started? Did you know growing up that this is what you wanted to do? And when did you first get this idea that, you wanted to be an important pillar for a tech company and, be delivering solutions, solving problems for a lot of the customers that we have?
Okay, very interesting question. I started thinking the minute you started asking the question because, Arvind, honestly speaking, that realization came very late in my life cycle. So I'm an engineer by training. My first qualification was an engineer and then I went to business school, but I really never had planned being an engineer. I wanted to do something different and my choice didn't go very well with my dad, who was obviously, growing up in India, that parents have a large choice in shaping career decisions. And I'm very happy that my dad made that choice for me and asked me to go and pursue engineering. And I think it is only because of that I got interested in pursuing engineering and then B school later on. But great thing that happened was that as soon as I came out of the engineering school, I found myself in middle of 1990s, which was a great time to be in the growing, exploding information technology industry in India, right? I mean, mobile phone industry, World Wide Web, everything was just going crazy. So great time to be here. I worked in India for a while, worked in US for a while, came back. And I think the whole customer solutioning and sales passion became more, acute, and I got really interested in it in the last 20-25 years, working with organizations like Jindal and the companies that I worked for before Jindal. So I think those stints were very important in shaping my career decision.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I think that's an important question when someone looks up to you and sees that, you are one of the most senior people here at the organization that's growing, that's in multiple countries. Then a lot of the younger people would aspire to be like you. So, thank you for sharing that. But I guess, what was your first job out of engineering? Did you get a job, or did you just directly go and pursue your business degree?
Well, I didn't have the choice or the luxury of pursuing a business degree due to the family circumstances. So I got the first job out of, actually the campus placement, which put me in a very exciting industry, the mobile phone industry in India. I went to work for this service provider, and I used to work on mobile phone towers and hang mobile phone radios and maintain them in Bombay in mid-90s. So that was my first job, actually. Very exciting, very interesting. I was a kid out of college. We didn't have a landline phone at home, and here I was in Bombay, the best place to be in India at that point of time, if you know what I'm saying, with two mobile phones, not one. We were the king of the world. Going to various customer places, installing, working with backend, working with the customer support for resolving customer issues, working with various international service providers and suppliers to our company.
Got it. Got it. How interesting. I'm going to date myself here, but I think I got my first mobile phone in late 90s. And I can totally understand that, at that time, the passion, oh my God, I have a phone. And, you would like almost, and this may sound silly, but you would almost hope that your phone rings and others get to know that, oh, you've got a mobile phone. It was that kind of a time. So very interesting. Yeah. So I guess then your first job was in Mumbai, and did you grow up here in Delhi? Got it. So you
I
moved
grew
away.
up in various parts of. Uh, my dad used to work for the army, so a few years in Delhi and then few years all over Delhi, and then engineering school in Aurangabad University, and then to Bombay for my first job.
Got it. Got it. So then you got your first job. How long were you there working as an engineer, working with towers, and I guess enabling the technology for India to have now what largest number of mobile phones, in any comparison with any
Yeah,
country?
yeah, absolutely. We are the second largest consumer of mobile phones in the world, just after China. And I worked there for about 3 years before. This is a time when popularly known in our industry as the Y2K time. So there were a lot of engineers that were being asked by a lot of organizations in the US to come and work in the US for maintaining and creating applications that would safeguard them against the so-called Y2K bug. And then after working at the mobile phone service provider for 3 years in Bombay, I moved to the US, to New Jersey, and started working for a software development firm. I worked there for a few years before coming back to India.
Oh, how amazing. How long were you in the US?
On and off for about 4 years.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Very cool. So what kind of job was it in New Jersey or in the US generally?
Well, the organization that I used to work for was a staff augmentation company, and actually my job with them was a sales job. So I was working with organizations like AT&T in New Jersey, which was one of the largest consumers of augmented engineers, contractors, and we were basically doing a lot of short-term and long-term placements for AT&T and several other organizations, but one of my largest accounts was AT&T.
Got it.
So I was working with the sales team in that organization, fulfilling their requirements and serving the client.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's where now I understand you got the hang of that there is such a huge opportunity. There is a dearth of good engineers, especially in the US market, one of the largest consumer markets around the globe. And that's when you saw this opportunity, saw the demand that, wow, looks like, there are so many of these contract engineers that these Fortune 500 companies are going to need. And then you were selling, like resources and engineers to those companies. So then you came back. Was it because you were missing India, or were there other bigger, better things that you wanted to try out here? What did you do after you got back from the US?
Actually, six of one and half a dozen of the other, Arvind. India was as is now, India was exploding with opportunities. The whole offshoring, outsourcing market in the IT and ITS industry was just going crazy. There was so much happening in India that I felt that, there were more opportunities for me in India than in the US, number one. And equally important was the fact that I'm the only son of my parents, and I got the drift that they were really missing me and vice versa. And that was really, once I found an opportunity in India, I think I didn't waste any time in buying a one-way ticket and hopping back home. My employer tried to lure me back with offer of a green card, but my goals, I think, my goals were different and larger at that point of time, and I had to decline and come back. Yeah.
Very
Fun
cool,
fact.
very
Fun
cool.
fact is that I used to live in New Jersey, and my landlord, the gentleman whom I rented a house from, he was also from India, and he came to Bombay to meet with my parents and asked my parents for my hand in matrimony for his niece who used to live
Oh,
in the
wow. Got it. That's how you met your wife. Wonderful.
No. That my dad didn't say yes because my dad said, my son just came back. I'm not sending him back to the U."
Okay, got it. Of course, then I guess they wanted you to come back over there and understood. And then
Right.
when did you start a family when you came back here, or I assume over the next few
And
years
year,
that's
and
when you
year,
started a family. Got it.
and
And
and year later, yes.
that's an important
I met in Bombay.
got it.
Yeah.
And that's an important question that a lot of the people struggle with, like meaning there are so many options, of course. A lot of the engineers who graduate from here, they get an opportunity to go to the US. And I know that most of the people, they have somewhere or the other this inclination to come back and, bring that change in India as well, and or even start a company or grow with the company. I think that's one choice, and the other one, of course, is you stay there and apply for the green card. I think I was on the other in the other camp. For me, as I was growing up, the only thing I wanted was to not that I don't appreciate everything that India has offered to me. I mean, of course, the education, the school, I'm forever grateful, but I knew that I wanted to get away and not be here at all. I would have, gotten any job anywhere in the Western world. And this was from even when I was in 11th grade. I would tell everybody that no matter what, I'm going, my first choice was US, but I got rejected from University of Texas at Austin to get my master's there. But later on, they accepted me for getting my MBA, which was great and sort of a full circle, and that felt great. But at the same time, I think I always thought that if it's not the US, then maybe Australia or Canada or UK. But I just always was super fascinated with the lack of chaos, and sometimes some chaos is good, of course, but I just wanted to be there always. And I think a lot of people, face sort of this decision. I think even Rupak, really well, he got an opportunity first time to get a green card with the company that he spent 11 years with, and then he declined. And then second time around, when I asked him, that's when he, was able to make that decision. So I think that's an important decision, and that kind of shapes, a lot of your other, aspects of life, like where do you start the family and, where you live. But I think you sort of have best of both the worlds, because it looks like then the clients that you were working with were in the US and you were frequently going to the US. I think you also mentioned you have a lot of family over there. So I think looking back, do you think this is something that you aspired for, to be settled in India and then be able to do business all over the globe, not just US, but like now how you're helping us with expanding in Western Europe, in Australia, New Zealand. I think looking back, is that what you always intended?
Not always, but I think it became very evident later on that that's what I love doing. I love traveling. There's an old adage that I love quoting: "Don't be a pillow. A pillow remains at home. Be a suitcase and travel the world." Love
That's a good
traveling.
one.
Yeah. I have traveled extensively, not only to North America, but to various other countries, but mostly but a lot to North America. And to repeat myself, I love traveling and going and meeting with customers and spending time with them. Post COVID, I think we have become a little reluctant in traveling, and business travel has reduced. It has picked up, but not to the same extent what it was earlier, because you have a lot of options of being in touch with your customers, but nothing replaces a handshake, a hug, and a dinner and a drink together, which goes a very long way in building a long-term mutual trusting relationship. But yeah, I love doing that. Being on the road for 25 days a month is what just really excites me a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and I can relate to it. I also love traveling a lot, and I feel really lucky to have such a wonderful team here, because I think the day goes by so fast here in our India office. I mean, it's fun in the US as well, but I think a lot of our employees prefer to work from home or work from the customer side in the US. So I feel like I'm more engaged, and being the kind of person that I am, just always wanting action. I love it, being able to interact with the team, to inspire at times. The team members come up with new ideas, new projects. And I think that's what I'm really glad that now they'll have, a leader like yourself who has such a wonderful exposure, and also, the vast experience, that you can be that mentor. And then I can just, be here maybe 3 or 4 months and sort of tag team with you. And other times, hopefully, be expanding in the new regions that we are getting to. So, well, great. I think
Sure.
sort of switching gears a little bit here. What do you believe has been the reason for, and of course, I know, your credentials. We had such a wonderful conversation, I think almost about a year ago, when we first spoke, and then, we then eventually slowly sort of figured out the plan, and at the right time you joined us now this week. But what do you think have been sort of those key principles that have given you the kind of success that you had? Because I see a lot of the younger people just quickly switching jobs, and I really admire this about you, your loyalty to your previous organization, and then the way that you did the transition as well. Of course, we wanted you to be here as early as possible, but it still took a while, and I think that tells me how you wanted to make sure that the other business that you have helped for last 20 years, they are taken care of as well. But what are some of the guiding principles for you, or I think those important lessons that have worked for you in getting into a place where you are?
Sure. Absolutely. I was very lucky to find a long home in my previous organization. Obviously, it speaks a lot about the organization more than anybody else. As leaders, it is about us to create organizations like this, which foster respect, growth, and camaraderie for all the employees. I think the key tenet of, I think one of the most important things that I have learned is to treat everybody fairly and with a lot of respect. All colleagues, junior or senior, come with their aspirations, their value add, their knowledge, their experience, their talent. As leaders, we learn from them as much as they learn from us, and create an environment for them to grow, to succeed in their personal endeavors, to meet their goals. I think an employee will contribute to the organization only if the organization contributes to him. And that's what I learned in my previous organization very clearly. That went a long way in creating a company. As leaders, obviously, as I said, we are responsible for it. In creating an organization that not only me, but a lot of other colleagues of mine, some of them are still there, have spent a long and very fruitful time. Goes without saying that once you do that, you are obviously duty bound and cognizant to create, a transition backup plan, so that what you have started doing internally and outside the company does not fail once you are not there. It also creates an environment for the next level to grow Also, I learned one very important thing is try to hire people who are more talented than what you do, because that's the only way to, engage in the continuous learning process. I think these are the few values amongst a lot, I'm sure, over the course of 20 years that we all learned from working for such large organizations like the one that I spent last 2 decades with. Ethics, internal and external. Customers, our clients trust us a lot. Ethics is a very small word, but very, very large meaning. And we learned that to follow the contract, whether written or oral, to follow the contract in every terms, because what goes around will always come around. And if you create a trusting relationship with the client, that's the best long-term sticky engagement that you are able to create. High quality innovation in everything that you do. India is at the forefront of cutting edge technology. It is very shameful for us if we are not able to innovate. So as serious leaders of the industry, as leaders of the companies that we work for, it is upon us to create an organization that is known for innovation. I think it's a long answer to your short question, but these are the few values that I learned and tried to practice in my life, and will also try to implement at Copper Digital over my tenure here.
Awesome. No, wonderful answer. And of course, I think I can relate to it. Really, the way you treat the employees, it's just so important because, I feel like a lot of times when I look back, whatever little I have, it's happened because of other people's efforts and the trust that they put in me and, being there with me in a lot of those tough decisions that we have had to take and challenges that we face. And I feel like those bonds that we create along the way are just extremely important. And, thinking about the employees as, someone that we want to contribute to and help them grow is just extremely important. And I think, that's what builds that loyalty as well for the employees. And I also feel like, it's even if an employee joins and they work for a while and then they go away, to do something else where they find better opportunities, even with them, making sure that we're doing our part and, just keeping in touch and genuinely appreciating for the time they spend. I mean, that has gone a long way. And this is an important lesson that I actually learned from one of the investor meetings back in 2011. And we went out there and, the first year we did $300,000 and $40,000 in profit. And then the next year we had bookings of $3 million, and suddenly all hell broke loose and we didn't know what to do. And we thought, whoa, you know what? We're going to be this next big unicorn and $1 billion in revenue and all of that good stuff. And then we started to approach certain VCs and other investors. And even though we ended up not raising any capital, that whole experience was so amazing because that taught me some really valuable lessons. And one such lessons, that I still remember was that this investor, in his fancy office, really beautiful carpet, and, the conference room, he said, Arvind, you know what? We don't invest in services companies, because of that exponential growth opportunity that comes with investing in products. And, I was asking him, I was like, well, there's Infosys and Tech Mahindra and all these other companies, and they have the potential of becoming, really, really big. And then he mentioned, listen, at times there may be some waves, like, the Y2K happened, or, there may be something else like a big event with, some luck and then that type of scale. But he mentioned that it's very difficult for a company to achieve that kind of scale. But what he also mentioned was that the key to success for you would be to make sure that if someone is leaving your organization, you treat them really well, because they would become your champions and they would become your salespeople. And he mentioned it may sound counterintuitive, and I took it to heart, and I was like, you know what, I want to make sure that even if there are priorities that change for certain employees and they may be leaving. And, initially when I started the company, it used to really hurt if someone was leaving the company. It almost felt like, what do you mean? Like you don't love the company anymore? But eventually, slowly, I realized that, this is a part of the process. In fact, even Rupak, who's, one of my key people, he went away for, I think, maybe a little more than 9-10 months to work for a product company. And that really helped him, learn get that exposure and appreciate, the kind of relationship that we had. And he came right back. And there have been numerous examples of people who have left for another opportunity, but then at times it's been just a few months or, after a few years for their second stint coming back. And I feel like that's only because, we really as an organization have this culture of, giving the benefit of the doubt and making sure that, we genuinely appreciate and love our employees, because it's easy to at times, start pointing fingers and be like, oh, well, why are you not on time? Or, why are there these bugs in the software? But I think as humans, first we get these negative thoughts, I've learned. And then eventually when you just take a breather and just try to genuinely understand the employee, you can tell that everyone, and I mean everyone, is trying to do their best based on what they know. And I feel like, that genuine love for the employees has definitely helped us. So I think I can relate to what you mentioned there. I think another thing that's been really important for me has been kind of related to what you mentioned, is taking care of the customer. Sometimes, and especially in our early stages, it was easy for us to say that, oh, this customer doesn't have that engineering mindset. They are expecting something that's unreasonable. But I have learned over the years that there is no such thing. Even though, there may be times when you want to be tactfully explaining to the customer our business model and how it's in their best interest for us to be profitable in every engagement that we have, so we can pay our people and, so we can grow as an organization as well. It's important to help the customer realize that. But there is no way that you're going to burn a bridge, even with a customer who may sometimes be upset. I mean, you have to ensure that they are taken care of. And, at times, if you just explain the challenge to them that, hey, we understand and this is the challenge and let's collaborate and solve this problem, they would come to table and you can come up with, solutions to however big the problem may be. And I think this one was validated with the Amazon Web Services model as well. I know that they would give you this funding only if you have done that engagement, and they'll give you those credits for the web services if the customer says that you have done a great job. And Amazon and being a user for their app for products and e-commerce as well, I mean, I almost see like they never would like leave you there. They would always just take care of you, whatever the challenge may be. And I really like that. And I think that is something that has helped them become, a really trusted name in the industry and becoming so huge. So no, that's wonderful. I guess what are some, similarly guiding principles in sales? I guess is there a certain method, for all that great success that you had, so tens of millions of dollars and created, those engagements across various countries? What are some principles that, for younger people who are looking to establish themselves in sales, because it is a lucrative job, being in sales. And I think I also really like sales because salespeople have the most up-to-date information about, what the customer wants and what they are trying to accomplish. And otherwise, being an engineer, at times you're getting that information from sales or account management or project manager, but the salespeople really have the pulse of what's going on at your customer location, which, can be exciting for people like me, I guess. Do you want to share some advice for younger people who want to establish their career in sales?
Well, there is no secret sauce really. There are sales experts and gurus who have, obviously done a whole lot more than what people like me combined have done. One thing that has really helped me, Arvind, is the ability to pick up the phone and call various reps in the customer side, because, on the client side, there's just not one guy, there are several people, right? I mean, it's a cross-functional team. So the ability to pick up the phone and call the cross-functional team on the other side, on the client side, and be in a very close, be very thick with them to get their pulse. What the operations wants can be very different than what finance wants, can be very different from what the tech team wants on the client side. And while they may not say so in a group meeting, on one-to-one, you get to know a lot about what their individual targets are, what their departmental targets are, what their aspirations are and how they relate to the organization. You also get a feel, a pulse of the organization, in which direction it's going, what are the new initiatives, what are the challenges, are they paying their vendors like us on time, are there new initiatives where there are opportunities which are always music to our ears. So it's very important to be able to really talk. That does not happen a lot nowadays. You have a lot of non-real time communication, email, etc. But you don't see a lot of in-person discussions, meetings, phone conversations happening, which I think it's very important to have that personal rapport. I think that has really worked, helped me a lot. Being able to talk to a cross-functional team. Now, it's not as it sounds, right? Because we may be delivering a PHP application to the organization. So what is the role of finance in it, or what is the role of operations in it? But unless and until you talk to them, understand it, you really cannot take that application to the next level, go and diversify within the customer and create a bigger, broader relationship, because it's not shoot and scoot, right? You don't want to sell an application and walk out of the customer. You want there to be a very long-term relationship. I've had customer relationships which have exceeded a decade, and and my clients tell us that, they get offers from other suppliers and other partners every week, every month. So it's not as if there's a dearth of people, right? I mean, they're talented people all over the world, very talented folks. So what really keeps a customer sticky is most important, right? The continuity of the customer. I think that has really helped me a lot.
And I think that's a super valuable lesson, right? I mean, it's not just that you just go and sell and then just go away. I think for the younger people aspiring to be in the senior sales roles, I think it's all about making sure that you're taking care of the customer. So I couldn't, agree with you more. I think there are a few other things that have worked for me. I feel like I almost, when I'm speaking to a customer for the first time, I tell myself to be extremely curious, like, just genuinely try to understand every aspect of their business, about them, and just let that curiosity sort of, now we have a lot of different tools to record conversations as well, but something that's informal. If you're having that conversation, taking notes really goes a long way. And I think the third thing that I would say that has,
I'm right now.
Nice. Yeah, I think extremely important, because there's science backing this up as well. It goes in our cerebrum memory, when we're writing something, the act of actually writing, not just taking note. I think that has helped me a lot. And I think there's a third thing as well. I feel like, that's also really helped me. That's been candor. So, offering information that otherwise the customer may not find out. And that may not just be all about how great we are and how great I am, but it's just, genuinely accepting some of those challenges or some shortcomings or mistakes that we may have made. I think that just instantly helps build that connection, because the customer goes, oh, wow, okay, well, that's, you're sharing this information. That's wonderful. And, we all have mistakes that we made, but the way that we tackle those and the way that we overcome those, I think is what, defines us. So I think that's gone a long way as well. It just helps me establish that trust, with the customer. If I can just be authentic, just be open and honest. So, that's wonderful. Well, great. I think, we are around 40 some minutes here. So we're going to try to wrap up here. But another really important thing that I wanted for the benefit of our subscribers, our community, is what are the differences in different geographies, right? Because you have a pretty unique profile where not only have you done business in India, I know for your, previous company, you had clients in India, but also, as you described, you've done tons of business in the US as well. And then there are other geographies, like you're pretty good with Australia, New Zealand, and Western Europe. For a company that may be focused in just one geography and, doing pretty well there, what advice would you offer to them around the differences that you've noticed of doing business, in Americas, Middle East, Australasia, I guess lots of different regions, maybe even Africa. Are there some big differences that maybe our subscribers can benefit from?
Well, obviously the biggest difference, I think, obviously the biggest difference is the difference of the culture, right? So Middle East has obviously a completely different culture, and admittedly, I've not done sales in Middle East, but having done some sales in England and having done more than some sales in Australia, I think, apart from culture, some of the other stark differences, like for example, for the Australian market, is that it's not, there are no quick sales over there. It takes some amount of time. Typical sales cycle in the Australian market is longer than the typical sales cycle in US because, obviously it's a smaller market, it's a very highly relationship driven market and to some extent a little more price sensitive as well. But the sales cycles are longer. So I think apart from the clear difference of culture, these differences remain.
Got it. No, and I'll maybe share some of my observations. So, as I was telling you the story earlier, we got lucky very early on because when we started, we were copper mobile, and it was really the boom of mobile applications because everybody wanted mobile applications. And we were like, all right, we're going to be just this next unicorn. And, then the very next year of our incorporation in 2011, we started opening up new offices. We opened one in Baltimore. We called it the government focused office. We opened one in California. Then, a good friend of mine from college, he approached me and he was like, whoa, I see, you on LinkedIn and here and there and things are looking pretty exciting for you. What can I do and bring you here in New Zealand? And that's when we opened up an office in New Zealand as well. And, very soon we realized that you should grow at a pace that you're comfortable with. And then we pulled back in the next couple of years and we were like, you know what, there's enough business in the US for us to go around and really help customers there because of the reasons like you mentioned. I think, it's just ease of doing business and that trust factor, the support that you get and the security. I think it's just really amazing in the US. And that's why a lot of the companies have their primary business there. But at the same time, I think, having done business in that geography in the US, going to Western Europe and Australia, I feel like there's, this feeling of that, wow, you've come from the US. And, because even when I remember driving around in New Zealand and the news on the radio was, about what Obama said. And this is way back when. And I was like, US is just so central, the way that the innovation has happened over there and because of the laws and being so open. Of course, Australia and UK and Germany, I think those are really amazing markets as well. German engineering is renowned. But at the same time, I feel like in Western Europe, what prevents a lot of the organizations to go to those geographies is how fragmented the market might be. And also, I feel like because of different languages, it can be a challenge. Of course, if you're in UK and Ireland, then English is great and you could maybe potentially find customers there. But other than that, I think finding customers in Spain, you have to have some idea of, Spanish. And then I think in Germany as well, while there is a lot of English spoken, but some of the senior people, I've heard that have that preference for German speaking population. So it can be a little bit tough, but once you crack these markets, I think there are not as many partners that are knocking on their doors. So you can have that customer for a very long time. And I think that's why it just makes sense for us to run these experiments and, take your help in expanding to these new geographies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as they say, small successes will drive larger successes. So it's important for us to, look for those small doors where we can get entry because they will help us, lead to bigger doors and bigger accounts.
Absolutely. Well, Manoj, I'm getting signals from my team that we've almost run out of time. So thank you so much. This has been a fantastic. Yes, please.
Sorry to interrupt, but let me take a moment and ask you a question.
Please go ahead.
We have met a lot of times in person, over video, and the last couple of days here in the office. And, one thing so unique about you is that you are as full of energy in the morning as in the night. How do you remain so high on motivation? What motivates you really that you are able to extend a lot of your charm, your energy, your enthusiasm almost on a 24/7 basis?
Thank you. First of all, you're too kind. I think, I have my days as well.
And I'm sorry, but I saw a message from you at about 3:30 in the morning India time, and I left last night after meeting with you at around 9 o'clock. But I woke up at like about 4 o'clock, and there was a message from you at 3:30. So that is actually a part of my question. Okay.
No, and guilty as charged. I think at times. So I think first of all, when I was starting up, I had this hunger, and this commercial drive because growing up, my dad was working in New Delhi Municipal Council, and I had all these aspirations that I wanted this and I wanted that. But then slowly, as I grew older and became, slightly wiser, I feel like, it shifted from those material things. But, for me, what gets me out of bed is really the relationships. I'm just so amazed with, a lot of different teams that come together and collaborate, the products that we're able to build. It's just like, I'm thinking about, okay, well, this person or, this team is going to have such and such meeting and, how can we make it efficient and have that agenda. But I think, in all seriousness, some advice that I would also offer to others would be that take time off when you feel like you've had a number of days of, really burning the midnight oil. So for me, I'm really lucky to have, amazing people who are able to run the show, manage the team. So my schedule goes that when I'm in India, I have very limited time to interact with the team, to work with the team. So I'm okay to put in those, 14-hour days while I'm in India. But when I'm away, then I make sure that I'm taking, 2 or 3 weeks every now and then, every other month to go visit a new country. And that's when it's a little bit meditative for me where, I can just not think about the business. And again, all that credit goes to the awesome people, the team leads that I have, especially Rupak, Jasmeet, Pankuri. They all make sure that even when I'm not there, our goals are, getting met. So I think, that's a long way of saying that I can do this for a little bit, taking off for some days, and I can be like, okay, like really be focused for a few days and then just, completely be off and then come back again. I think that just is the way that I work best. But thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I have my days when I'm like, oh my God, why are, sometimes, when we don't get views on our podcast or when we don't get views on our video and we've done so much hard work. So I have those days, but, my friends and employees, they, just really give me that strength to continue to go on. And if you just do it long enough, I think that compounding effect would happen. So I think that's what gets me out of bed, that if I can just continue to do it long enough, it's going to work out for sure. It's a long game, right?
Absolutely, it is. It is. Great answer. Thank you. Thank you, Arvind.
No problem. Thank you so much, Manoj. It was a great pleasure to have this conversation with you and, share it with my community, our corporate digital champions, a lot of the ex-employees who follow us and, want to be in touch, and of course, our teams across the globe. So thank you. And we're really, really excited to have you on board and do really great things over the next, 5 to 10 years and, build an organization that can be proud of the work that we do for our customers and then the growth that we are able to offer to, our employees. So I'm really excited to embark on this journey with you. And this is really a milestone for our organization to, have you on board and expand to geographies, technologies, especially we've changed our name, to be able to offer more services to our customers as well from, transitioning from copper moving to copper digital this year. So it's been a really important and milestone year, and, your presence definitely puts a cherry on top. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very excited to be part of this team. It's a very, very dynamic, very talented team, and working with you and the rest of the team, it's very, very exciting. Thank you again.
Awesome. Well, thank you. See you later.
Bye-bye.